I grew up totally poor and I always wanted to own a sports team because I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I used to go to the Dodger Stadium, way back in the stadium, back there, the cheapest seats. And I always wanted that. And so at one point, I finally made enough money that I could participate in the building of the LAFC football club. I got to be one of the early investors and help design the club. And it was fun, stadium, the whole thing. But the microscope I went through for a year to get qualified, besides your money, is insane. A new law was passed over the last 3 years that a few firms have been able to participate in because they don't use leverage. And you can now invest in companies and get a little slice of teams, multiple teams. So I worked so hard to have the LAFC. Now I have a piece of the Golden State Warriors. I have a piece of the LA Dodgers. I have a piece of the Boston Red Sox. I have a piece of the Pittsburgh, hockey team. I mean, it's amazing. And what's amazing is this used to be putting butts in seats, but what this is something not correlated to the stock market, nothing at all. When we have inflation, they charge more for the hot dog and people pay it because they have fanatics. That's what fan means.
Right.
Fanatics are people that, first of all, you have a legal monopoly. No one else can compete with you in that city. That's pretty amazing. Second of all, you got fanatic fans. Third of all, you have a business that does well, even in inflationary times. And if you know, Michael Jordan paid, $38 million for his piece of his team, NBA team. He just sold it 12 years later for $3 billion and kept some of it. That's the kind of growth. In the last 10 years, the growth across Major League Baseball, NBA, hockey, and soccer, which are the ones I own together, have averaged 18% compounded per year. So to give you a sense, like at 20%, your money's doubling every 3.5 years. At 14%, about every 5 years. So if you want to get to your goals quicker, these are fun ways to do it, and they never were available before. You won't find this in any of the books that I'm aware of anywhere in the world because it's kind of part of this network of people. But you can become that now because you'll be able to tap into this just by either being qualified or getting the education to qualify yourself and taking the test.
What's your view? That's fascinating. What is your view of debt? So a lot of people feel like they're trapped because they are maxed out on their credit cards, honestly. So what do you do about that?
Well, you have to pay it down. You have to develop a plan. You got a spending plan and or find a way to earn more by finding a way to add value, some new skill, new ability, some new business, some new hustle that you're going to do on the side. But I think the biggest thing you got to realize is if you take money and you borrow money to buy a flat screen TV, that's pretty idiotic because that's going to depreciate. It's going to give no value. But if you borrowed some money to buy a tractor for your farm, that's going to make you more productive. You'll be able to pay back the loan and be more productive and your business grow. So the question is, are you using it just to survive or get things, or are you using it to get more resources? When you use it for more resources, then debt can be really valuable for people. But too much debt will stress anybody out, and too much debt will take any company down if they're imbalanced.
So in other words, you've got a more flexible view of it. There are times when you think debt is wise and times when it's unwise.
And it's for not only the times, it's what's it for. Is it for increased productivity? Is it for something that's going to expand your capacity, your skill, your ability, tools for your business, tools for your career? Or is it just for a purchase of something that you probably should just wait on because once you just spend that money, you're paying interest on it, now high interest. I mean, credit cards are now just insane. They were insane before, but I don't know. I saw the other day, I don't know if it's accurate. I saw that the average was over 20% now. I mean, that's insane to borrow money at that level for some consumer item.
So you would opt out of that immediately?
I'd opt out of that and I'd start paying that down, and then I'd start to take a percentage of my income, even if it's super small, and say, I'm going to use this to be an owner. I'm going to take it off the top, and then I'll figure out how to invest it, but I'm going to have that automated by my bank or by my investment company so I don't see it, and I'll start to adjust. And then I start to have it. I mean, look at people don't understand. They have all heard of compounding.
Right.
The richest people in the world don't do it by getting rich. How many athletes have you interviewed? How many movie stars you interviewed that were rich? They made $10 million a year. Kim Basinger she was the highest paid actress of the 90s, won Academy Awards, was getting $10 million a picture, went bankrupt. We both know Mike Tyson, a good friend of ours, right? Yeah. And Mike, I love Mike to death. He made $500 million in income and went bankrupt. Right? So that's not the way that you get wealthy. You get wealthy by taking a little bit of money over time and compounding it. So I tell parents, teach your kid who's 19, put $300 a month away. Sounds like a lot, but they don't have any overhead. They can do it. Put in the stock market, average returns 8% over time, 8 to 10. Don't let them touch it. And if they started at 19 and you just do it to 27 years old, $300 a month. The total amount's like 28 grand over those 8 years. Never invest again. They're set. Right? Let's say they have a brother. He starts at 27, same amount of money, $300, and does it till he's 65. He's put $138,000 roughly in. And he's done it for 38 years, not 8 years. He has less money at the end. Because compounding, the first guy's got 1.8 million, and all he did was invest for 8 years, $300 a month, put it in the stock market. The second one has 1.5 million, but he didn't have as much time. He took longer to do it. He started later, so he didn't get the same level of compounding. So compounding, just like the million versus the 139 million, 26 for 139, it's both getting in the game and it's where you put it. And so this book is trying to show people where you put it. And then I interviewed 13 of the masters of the universe and found out, like, what is their approach? And ironically, it's what I taught you earlier, or I mentioned earlier. Their whole focus is not to just buy a stock when it's down or buy a company when it's down. They want to buy a company right. But the whole thing is, how do we add value? How do we take this company and make it more valuable than it's ever been, and then take it public or sell it to a bigger company? And that's where they make their profits. And their other value is they don't drop as much, because when markets go down, they can buy. When markets go up, they can sell, because they've tied up your money for 5 years. So all your money can't go in those types of investments, because you need some liquidity. But it's, if you're going to want to try to maximize to get to a retirement in the world we're in today, it might be nice to have the smartest people in the world on your side and be their partner, making 2% right beside them as an owner in the business and making 20% of the upside. Think about it. They have these are very few of them this small, $1 billion in funds. They're going to be guaranteed 20%, right? That's what their 2% is going to give them, $20 million a year for 5 years. They're going to make $100 million whether they make money or not. And most of them are good at making money. So in 5 years, they take the billion to $2 billion. Didn't have to hire a ton more people, and they're going to make 20% of the upside. They make $300 million on $1 billion. That's why there's more of those in the Fortune 400 than any other industry. So I said, there's a good pathway. Perhaps that's a path you and I should take advantage of, as long as we're smart enough to see what's there and willing to educate ourselves, instead of living like I can't do it and the game's against me. Well, there are some things.
So that's actually what I wanted to close on, since we began the conversation by my noting that there's a sadness palpable, and you pointed to the reality of that and then suggested an upside to it, or at least a different way to think about it.
Yeah.
You've mentioned twice the perception that people have that's grounded in some reality that the system is rigged and you kind of can't win. You said it emerged after 2008. I think that's right, but it's only become more profound. I mean, people really feel that way.
True.
What do you say to them?
I say you got your experience of your life is not your life. Your experience of your life is the life you focus on. So right now, if I want to figure out what's wrong, I'm sure I can find a million things. I got 100+ companies, lots of employees all over the world in different industries. What are the chances right now somebody's screwing up, if screwing up is doing what I don't think they should be? 100%. I can focus on it, be all stressed out, or I can focus on what I can control. I can focus on what can be done. I can focus on what's great. What's wrong is always available, so is what's right. So we've always had problems like that. Study history. I hear people talking about this is the worst time in history politically. We've never been at each other's throats like this. And I don't have it with me. I wish I did. I could pull it out for you. I have this little write-up that's 2 different posters that were during the time of Adams versus Jefferson. If you read what they were saying about each other, it looks calm compared to what Republicans and Democrats and liberals and conservatives say today. We've always had it's cycles. We go through cycles. And if you know cycles, you're not so fearful. You say, okay, this has happened before. What do I need to do to take advantage of this? But if you just go in a mindset of, oh my God, it's rigged against me, I can't win, then it's self-fulfilling. So you have to not be one of the many. You have to think differently. You've got to educate yourself. One of the biggest things Jim Rohn taught me is he said, look, if you want to have an extraordinary life, you need to feed your mind and not let everybody else feed it.